Thoughts on psychedelics? Psychedelics. Well, all you have to do to have your own opinion on this is to do psychedelics yourself. You got to learn to think for yourself. Like, I'm not saying do drugs, I'm not saying do drugs, but in life, you got to learn to think for yourself rather than just looking to see what other people think and then taking their opinion on it. Like, there's a lot of really successful people who are successful, let's say with fitness, but you don't want to take their relationship advice. And then there are people who are really great relationships, but you wouldn't want to take their business advice. Then there are people who are really good business people, they make a lot of money, but you wouldn't want to take their health advice, right? So when you're asking me about psychedelics, I don't even know why you'd ask that, even though I've done a good amount of them in the past, but I've done enough psychedelics to realize that they're so innocent compared to alcohol. They're so innocent compared to even coffee. If I had a choice between drinking a big cup of coffee and taking LSD, I'd take LSD. I wouldn't do it every day. But if I had a one-off, hey, you get a cup of coffee or a tab of LSD, I'd take acid. Because at least with acid, I can come up with genius ideas and not feel like crap the next day. But with caffeine, have you ever seen a spider try and make a web with caffeine? It goes crazy, it goes berserk. You think you're being productive on caffeine because you're going all over the place, you're moving really quickly, but you're doing crap work. And the next day, whenever I take caffeine, if I take caffeine one day, the next day I feel like absolute trash, useless. I can't do anything. But I've taken LSD enough times to realize that the next day I wake up, I feel refreshed. I'm like, wow, was that all a dream? Was that real? So psychedelics are so, in my experience, have been so much less harmful than caffeine. As far as things like mushrooms, I mean, the thing about psychedelics and the thing about drugs in general is you don't need them. You don't need them unless maybe in the rare cases you do. So rare cases you need caffeine. It's you're super tired driving home, maybe you're jet lagged, and you really need to sleep, but you have another 3 hours to go in the car, and you need to get home because your grandma's might die tomorrow and you have to get home tonight to see her for the last time or something, or you need to get in there to plug in her respirator so she can survive. You need to get home. You have no other choice, but you got to drive home. You can't pull over and sleep. We got to stay awake, but you're super tired. What do? Well, take some caffeine. It'll instantly guarantee that you stay awake. So that's a safe time to use caffeine, or a smart time to use caffeine. Or when I was doing triathlon and I wanted to win these races, and I knew if I took some caffeine, I would perform much better in the race. I'd swim faster, bike faster, run faster, feel less fatigued, be able to get by with less calories during the race. Yeah, I'll take some caffeine during those races. Never took it in training, ever. Only took it during the race. It was a strategic time. I used it strategically. So you want to use, whether it's psychedelics or stimulants, use them strategically. But ideally, don't use them at all. If you are going to use them strategically, but ideally, do not use them at all. The thing about psychedelics, because you asked, is I've learned, not just learned, I've experienced so many deep lessons about life and how the universe works, truly experience them. So that when people talk about oneness and manifestation and law of attraction and these sorts of mystical things that the ego can't really wrap its head around, I know from experience that those things are I've experienced how they work, and I've experienced how powerful they can be, and how it's just how the universe works. And so now my ego is it doesn't think those things are dumb or anything. It knows that's how the universe works. So psychedelics have not only taught me things, but they've shown me things that made me experience the very things that I once maybe doubted. So mushrooms have been cool. San Pedro's been cool. LSD's been really cool. Even smoking weed. I learned a lot from smoking weed. But the number one thing I've learned from all these drugs, or all these psychedelics, is that you don't need them. That's been my biggest key takeaway from all these drugs. You don't need them. And I've done everything like cocaine and salvia and um, some pretty wild. I've had some pretty wild experiences with psychedelics. And all in all, the key takeaways, I don't need them. I'm much better off sober. I'm much better off just me and my notebook, waking up and getting it done. I don't need these things.